Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today we're talking about this story that came out. Google is postponing the page experience update, a rollout. It's going to go out gradually from mid-June, won't be fully live until the end of August. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know if they had mishaps in testing, rolling this out. They were supposed to start this in May. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're just getting data from people in page speed insights and they realize a lot of people aren't improving their page speed. It's really not that easy all the time if you get to a certain point and you're not developer savvy. If you don't have a web developer, or if you're just on a platform that's hosting it as a service. For whatever reason, they said they're postponing the rollout of the page experience update. And remember, this is the page experience update. This is tied to the page speed insight things. You're supposed to improve the first input delay, which is how quickly the site starts to load. The largest contentful paint, which again, remember, is the largest element that is in view in the browser window when the site begins to load. So usually that is a background image, a foreground image, or a headline. That's usually the biggest element, the largest contentful paint that needs to load quickly. And then the cumulative layout shift, which is how much the page shifts around from the time that it begins to load until the time the page is fully loaded. How much does the layout shift around? I will show you an example of that in just a second. AMP is no longer required to rank in certain top stories. Google also clarified this is irrespective of its core web vitals score or page experience status. This change begins in mid-June. It's not going to apply to most of my clients. Most of my clients are businesses. I don't know who's saying this. What is happening? Whoever's writing this. Whoever's writing this says, I suspect that HTTPS, mobile-friendly safe browsing, and no intrusive interstitials will be part of the mid-June rollout. I thought they already were. I mean, to my knowledge, they were already part of the ranking algorithm. But, okay. They have this little illustration on Search Engine Land. They're talking about this. Core Web Vitals, largest contentful paint, the first input delay, the visual stability, which is the cumulative layout shift. Now, the big deal about this, a lot of people are kind of talking about this, and they're saying that you're going to go down in rankings if you have a bad score in these. And it's actually not exactly correct. What it is you will receive, you may be eligible for a small boost in rankings if you have all of these in the green. That's actually what was stated before. It's not, you're going to get penalized if they're in the orange or some of them are in the red. And keep in mind too that this would be applying to mobile first, because most sites are on mobile first indexing at this point. Meaning whatever the mobile experiences is Googlebot is basically browsing as a mobile browser. Whatever that is, those are the numbers that they are measuring. So the desktop, maybe if you get like 80 or 90% of your traffic from desktop, but I have not seen many sites that fall into that category right now. All this is in mobile first. Okay, so anyway, they said don't expect drastic changes. And yeah, don't expect drastic changes. But let's talk about this really quick. So if you search Page Speed Insights, you'll find it. You can pop any URL, any web address in here, and it will give you a score in mobile and desktop. And as soon as this finishes analyzing, let's break down what it is. I recently actually did some parts of my theme to make this a little bit faster. This is my mobile score for my home page, 93, desktop, 100, very good. So you can see that it has all these ones. I guess first contentful paint, that's how long it takes to start loading that biggest element. But on desktop, first contentful paint, at least on my homepage, it's the background image of the hero area. And if there was a second one, it would be the headline in that area. It's just some text. It's just a hero area with a background image and then some text right in the middle. But the biggest thing that is in view in the browser when my home page first starts loading is a background image. So the first contentful paint is pretty quick. Cumulative layout shift. Now I did some things here. I did not use any fonts like Google fonts. I'm not using Adobe fonts or anything like that. I am strictly using system fonts, meaning the font stack is just relying on what's in your particular computer or device. So that's one of the things I did. So the mobile score, let's take a look at this. Total blocking time is a little less. And you can kind of see that, and I fixed position my header to where that doesn't change. The headline here doesn't change. There's elements that like appear, but nothing like moves around, nothing like is shifted out of the way. Before, that was a problem on a lot of my pages. So that would be the cumulative layout shift. I tried to solve that as much as I could. So the first contentful, or the largest contentful paint, you can see there's like this kind of background image of the nodes. So properly, the things that I still have to improve is properly sizing images, and then getting rid of some unused CSS. I did inline critical CSS, meaning whatever it takes to render the top part of the page. I did that for most of the pages on my site. But the largest contentful paint item, you can go to Page Speed Insights and you can see, oh, on mobile it's actually the headline. It'll show you. Because you can see right there, it shows the headline. If I go to desktop, connected nodes of light, that is the alt text, the alt attribute for this image right there. So it shows me that is the largest contentful paint element when the page starts to load. So there's other things I did. I don't know if I did a video. I think I did a video, but I never published it. I deleted it. But maybe I'll do one again, going over some of the things I did to improve. But anyway, back to this. So this whole thing, basically what you're going to want to get. So basically what you're going to want to get is the first input delay, the cumulative layout shift, and the largest contentful paint in the green down here. This part here is the live. This is data over the last 28 days, and it's a rolling 28 days. So if you see this and you're still in the orange or the red, that's why. The number at the top for each of these, that is the data off of the last fetch that you just happened to do. But again, if you can get those three in the green, then you might get a slight bump. It's not going to be a major bump because that page still needs to be useful and the content of the page is still more important. The link profile of that page and your site is still important, and I'm sure that there's other factors that are more important as well. I'm thinking it's a minor factor, and that's why they're saying do not expect drastic changes with this. They are releasing a new page experience report in the Search Console, so that's something you can check out as well. But just wanted to give people a heads up. There is a little bit more time to work on this, so if you have a developer that you can call, see if they can, get this a little bit faster. But again, the content of your site, most important factor. I would say the link profile, the design of the site itself, those are also important things. Just something to think about. But my name is John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO. I'm here about once a week putting out videos on SEO to try and help specifically manufacturing companies, and I also have some contractors on my roster and some other people as well. But that's mostly what I'm aiming at. If you have a question that you'd like to see answered, be sure to leave it in the comments below. I would be happy to answer that for you. That's all I have for now. Until next time, peace.